What do you become when you remove the noise, the beginning of depths? Dawn hadn't fully broken. She sat at her small desk, staring at the blank page ahead. Her coffee steamed. The street outside was still asleep. A few moments passed, and her mind drifted to messages, notifications, unfinished tasks. But a sentence echoed inside. If everything is shallow, nothing stays real. Depth is what we've lost in a world crowded with distractions. She told herself, I have to learn to work deeply, even when the world won't let me. She closed the laptop, picked up a notebook and wrote, beginning starts by turning off the noise. That day was her first deep work session. No phone, no music, just her and her thoughts. At first, it was hard. Her mind kept hunting for excuses to run. Each time, she took a deep breath and returned to the work. After an hour, she felt she'd entered another world, a place where focus was its own reward. Deep work is meditation with a goal. For the first time, she felt truly present. Time lost its edge. 2 hours had passed, but to her, it felt like minutes. When she finally looked up, she smiled, a full page written. Not perfect, not pristine, but real. She wrote, depth means doing what pulls the mind, not what merely keeps the fingers busy. That night she went to bed later than usual, but with a long-sought calm. The next day she tried again, and this time her mind resisted. Notifications, calls, and a false sense of urgency rushed back. The modern world is engineered to steal your attention. She felt she had to fight, not the world, but herself. She made a decision, 1 hour of deep every day. That hour became her refuge. Soon 1 hour became 2, then 3, then a habit. Gradually, she learned to endure boredom because creativity hides behind silence. One day she wrote, to be deep, you must know how to be alone. Now, instead of checking her phone, she spent time with her thoughts. And she realized deep work isn't just a method, it's a way of living. That night she wrote, I've just begun to live in depth. The resistance of the shallows. Morning, before starting, she picked up her phone and then remembered, every needless tap pulls you a step away from depth. She breathed, set it down, and opened the notebook. Shallowness is always easier, and that very ease separates you from meaning. Her mind still chased instant rewards, a ping, a message, a virtual smile. But she chose to stay, to remain in the hard silence that's full of ideas. 30 minutes passed. The first real wave of focus returned. In quiet, her inner voice grew clearer, like the sea revealing depths when the waves settle. Deep work is training for the muscle of attention, and she felt herself growing stronger for real. With every temptation refused, a layer of surface thought peeled away. It still wasn't easy. Sometimes, mid-work, her mind drifted to daydreams, to things that didn't matter at all. Once, mid-sentence, she grabbed her phone without thinking. The screen blurred in her hand. She sat it down again, smiled and said, I'm smarter than this bait. Every time you take your attention back, you take a piece of yourself back. She was reclaiming herself. Days went by and her feeling toward work changed. She no longer chased finishing fast. She craved real engagement. One evening, in a quiet office, she told herself, focus is now my most sacred asset. She wrote, the shallow world makes us look busy and leaves us more tired. Shallow work fragments the mind. Deep work integrates it. She was becoming whole. After several focused hours, her mind felt brighter than ever, ideas arriving unforced. She realized depth carries its own reward. Attention is a muscle. If you don't use it, it atrophies. Now she trained it daily. A gym for the mind. Even on walks, her thoughts were more ordered. Not everything could steal her attention anymore. She wrote, shallow work is negligence. Deep work is self-respect. With every line she wrote, an inner satisfaction arose, stronger than any like. On a rainy day by the window, she said, focus is living in the real present. And now she lived in the moment, in silence, in depth, in creativity. That night she wrote, shallow work ends, deep work remains. One day amid work, she realized she'd lost track of time. It was 3 in the afternoon, yet it felt like a moment. She smiled and said, "This is exactly where I belong, inside the depths." When you're immersed, the brain reaches its highest creative state. Her mind felt like a river, unceasing, clear, alive. Each thought connected naturally to the next. No strain, no noise, no doubt. A kind of moving meditation. She understood deep work isn't mechanical effort, it's a form of spiritual presence. Working deeply means being in the moment, not just with your body, but with your whole being. She learned to stay in depth. She had to say no to the surface. She began cutting the extras, pointless meetings, endless threats, trivial worries. One day she wrote, "Saying no to the shallow is saying yes to myself." She felt free. Every no was a fresh breath. An unfocused mind is noisy. Focused mind is meaningful. Now she felt the meaning in everything, even in a single sentence. One night, monitor light on her face. She remembered how silence once scared her. Now silence was the safest sound. She realized depth isn't only a place to think, it's a place to become. A shift from someone in a hurry to someone who knows what's worth her time. The quality of life depends on the quality of attention. She was now living deeply, not just working deeply. She planned her day with one question. What is worth focusing on today? The answer was simple, but precise and meaningful. Gradually she saw with this approach her work moved faster and with greater accuracy. Time stretched. Days felt longer because she truly used them. In her quiet office she said, "This silence is the best sound in the world." To reach depths, separate from the surface, not to escape, but to build. She was building, calmly, focused, and for real. People began to notice. Someone said, "You're much calmer and more effective. What did you do?" She smiled. "Nothing special, just one real thing at a time." That night, beside her notebook, she wrote, "Deep work isn't just a skill, it's a phase in yourself, rebuilding focus." One day, mid-work, the power went out. A heavy silence filled the room. At first, she panicked. No internet, no light, no familiar distraction. Then she smiled, picked up her notebook and said, "Well, now it's truly just me and the work." When you detach from the outside, focus shows itself again. She felt her mind suddenly light for the first time in a while. Writing came easier than ever, as if her thoughts had been waiting for this quiet. After 2 hours, the power returned, but she kept her eyes on the paper, not wanting that focus to end. She understood to rebuild focus, you must let the mind rest. She created sacred borders for herself. Times without phone, email, or rush. 1 hour at dawn, 1 at night. No one was allowed into that quiet world. Focus is born of discipline, not motivation. And she learned that motivation doesn't always come, but discipline can always be built. Each day, before starting, she closed her eyes for 3 minutes, just breathing, reminding herself it's depth time. Those moments became a sacred ritual for her mind. Her mind learned whenever this space is created, we settle and dive. Focus built habits. She now saw herself as someone for whom focus was part of her being, not an occasional tool. There were days when everything fell apart. Too many tasks, a tired mind, scattered attention. But she knew the way back. She could restore her mind like an old house, gently, carefully. Begin with a deep breath. 1 line on the page, 1 step into depths. Returning to focus is a spiritual practice. And now she knew why. Focus is like love. Neglect it and you lose it. She wrote, "Focus is loyalty to what matters to me." She no longer chased productivity. She chose presence. She learned that when she was tired, she should walk, not scroll. Those quiet minutes refreshed her mind. Each time she returned to the desk, she felt reborn. A mind that learns to rebuild in silence has nothing to fear from the world. Now she drew power from quiet, not fear. Late at night, she wrote, "Rebuilding focus is returning to the real self, a legacy of depth." One night, after a long, full day, she sat at a desk, not to do, but to understand. She thought about the days she only chased busyness, eager to be involved, not in flow. Depth is a quiet path to lasting impact. She saw it now. Lasting impact isn't only in outcomes, it's in who you become. She closed her eyes and said, I'm no longer a laborer of my mind. I'm an architect of my focus. Words felt like drops of light onto the page. Each line came from a depth that once was unknown. Deep people change the world, not with speed, with precision. She wanted to be one of them, not loud, but lasting. One day she'd learn that focus is like a worship, not for profit, but for growth. Her goal wasn't finish the project anymore, but join with meaning. Each day, she left a small piece of herself in the deep. That piece became her legacy. One day, a friend asked, how are you always so calm and coherent? She smiled. I just learned to stay quiet in the noise. The world needs focused people because they can do what truly matters. She was becoming one of them, someone whose presence calms a room. At the end of each day, she closed her notebook and whispered, the work isn't finished. Only deeper. She realized success isn't gaining more. It's not losing yourself. Deep work is a path back to authenticity, and she had returned to it. Her life wasn't crowded, but it was full of meaning, presence, contentment. Whenever she looked back, she smiled at the woman who learned to do less, to build more. The future belongs to those who can think deeply while others only move quickly. She was now one of those future makers. Her work looked simple, its impact was deep. One night she closed the notebook and said, deep work is living with clarity, even in a dark world. She looked out at the city. Lights blinked, cars flowed. Her mind stayed quiet and bright. She wrote focus, silence, meaning, 3 tools for building anything that truly matters. And finally, if the world rushes you, remember, depth is slower, yet endure. This story was inspired by Deep Work by Cal Newport, for anyone who wants to craft meaning with her own quiet in a noisy world.